pre-scientific agrarian cultures would come to these conclusions,
Yes.
and how I mean, it makes sense. It's
And
fascinating how people will put that. And and while that is going on in the Christian world, something else is going on. And these are not two different groups of people. They're often the same groups of people altogether.
exactly. Hmm.
But what was going on in the Christian world is that every church, or sorry, every community started to develop their calendar of saints.
Hmm.
So they would have like Uncle Bob, and they'd have a feast day to Uncle Bob, and they'd have Aunt Rita 2 months later, and they'd have a feast day. And it was actually a money making thing for the church as well to have, because every feast day you're expected to do
Make a
a
donation.
mass that you had to pay for to the
Hmm.
Catholic Church. So it was a fundraiser. And one of the things the Catholic churches was realizing was, first of all, this is exploiting people, but second of all, it was so crowded, and you'd never know, going from community to community, was this a feast day? Is that why everything was shut down? So there's no real coherence. So I can't remember. The fifth century is popping up, but I could be wrong. The Not even sure if it was the Pope. I think it might have been bishops. Um, Corralled all of those additional local saints and put them as All Saints Day, which was November 1st,
And
which
if you're
made
going to
sense
pick a
to.
day, why not already pick a day where the community has traditionally been
Precisely.
celebrating the dead?
Absolutely, absolutely. And so the night before, because All Saints Day is also known as All Hallows Day,
Hmm.
all the eve before All Hallows Day is All Hallows Eve, kind of like Christmas Eve is Christmas Eve, because the next day is Christmas. So that's even where the word Halloween came from, is
Right.
All Hallows Eve. And then, because the church never lets a celebration go if they can avoid it, the very next day they celebrated all the past dead. So it became All Souls Day. So you got basically a 3-day feast going on, and that comes through parallel to any of these Celtic um, Samhain celebrations, that basically families were doing both in that part of the world. But in other parts of the world that didn't have a Samhain tradition, they were much more focused on the trideum of All Hallows Eve, All Saints, and All Souls. So it's really interesting. The two of them are in this elaborate dance, and neither took the information or took the holiday from the other, because they were the same people.
Right. So it's just basically grafting one holiday on
Right.
top of the other, but in a lot of cases, the Christian one replaced the pagan one, except, or more accurately, the Christian one um absorbed the pagan one into it, if as Christian became dominant in that area.
Well,
But
exactly, because that
um
was the structure, that was the new way of making sense of the world, because that's what a lot of the Celtic rituals were. They weren't just party times; they were making sense of their world. So as a new philosophy, new theology kind of came through the people, it's like, oh, we've been doing this, and that actually connects to that. So we're going to
mhm.
keep doing that because we can do that inside comfortably, as opposed to being outside and doing whatever else, or whatever their thought process was. Um,
And
so it was not a heavy-handed thing at all. It was just kind of this natural merge of things. And one of the ways you can really tell is if you look at Christianity around the world. Every nation celebrates Christianity slightly differently. So you're
exactly.
not going to have the graveyard celebrations in Sweden. You don't see that.